If you don't love it, I guarantee you, you're probably not going to like going to work, and then you're not gonna want to put in your best effort. And that's not helpful to you, and that's not helpful for the company who's investing in you as well. Because just as much as you're investing into the company, so is the company investing in you. Hi guys, welcome to Her Career, Her Way, episode 3. Today's episode is what my internship taught me and how can you kind of learn and win at yours. And so I just wrapped up my internship for the summer, and honestly, it feels really surreal. I came in it with so many questions like, would I like it? Do I like the fashion industry? I worked in the fashion industry. Could I have a corporate job from 9 to 5? Would I be able to prove myself? And now with a few months, I feel like I've learned so much more than I could have imagined. And not just about the job, but about myself. So today I wanted to kind of talk through my biggest takeaways and things, like the little things that you could do to make your internship the best you can. So the purpose really of this episode, as I kind of said, was just to share a few lessons that I learned, as well as just actual tips of how to make the most of your internship. And I really wanted to start off with just how I got my internship in general. This may or may not be a two-parter because I feel like it's a really long one. And I feel like it's really important after a big experience to kind of reflect on what you've been through, what you've learned, and see, was it for you, you know? I think it's really important to trust your gut on these instincts, especially coming out of it. And then, just take a minute to reflect, because honestly, I feel like I'm still living in a lull of it. Like, I haven't really felt what it was like, but I wanted to get this out just when these feelings are kind of raw, and then maybe I'll have some more insights on it along the line as well. And so I guess the first thing about my internship is that I got it honestly just applying through LinkedIn and Indeed. I think I might have used Handshake when I was at study abroad. I got access to that, so that was really nice. But yeah, I just applied. I tailored my resume to whatever role I was applying for. And I think that's really important to make sure you're looking up what the role is, read the job description, read the company values, and tailor your skills towards it. Just because you don't have a lot of experience, myself, I feel like I have zero experience. This was my first real internship, real corporate internship too. And so I definitely felt a little bit of imposter syndrome seeing the other people with loads of internships in the industry. And I'm like, I was just a sales associate. Like, how does that help? But it does count because I got that customer service lens. And I also have been with the product. I'm the one who's the most knowledgeable about the product in a different location in London. It was, I guess, my international experience is also a strength that sometimes I forget. And so just remember that sometimes your weaknesses are your biggest assets, and to really leverage what you have done and write about it. And so that's what I did. I did 2 interviews, one online and then one in, well, actually they were both online, but one was through like HireVue. I'm sure you've heard of that before. And I think it's really important to come prepared with questions and go kind of beyond what you think is necessary. So when you're talking about the resume, go beyond just what the bullet points are. Or if they ask you a question, what are your strengths? Go beyond that and be like, these are my strengths, but this is how I intend to utilize these strengths in this setting. So kind of showing them what more you can do of being asked, I think is really important. It just shows that you're proactive. And then I guess with this internship, I went into it with a really open mind. I think one of the most important things is when you're going into an internship is to kind of set your intentions. So that would be, I think, step 1. Clarify what you want and why you want it. I think the why is super important. It could be having an open mind. Do I like this industry? Do I like corporate? Do I like freelancing? What skills do I want to gain from this internship? Hard and soft skills. Hard being, maybe Excel or presentations or whatever. And then soft skills, maybe the more interpersonal ones and confidence and things like that, I think are really important. Because I think when we have clear intentions, we have more of a sense of purpose and direction, and we're more likely to kind of make those choices in alignment with our values and priorities. There was a study done in Great Britain in 2001 where I think there was like 248 participants or something like that, and they had to track how much they exercised or things like that. And one of the control groups was just purely based on motivation, maybe reading a little article or something. And then the other group was also had motivation, but also had the additional plan, like I will exercise at this time and this date. So I will exercise at 7 a.m. On Tuesday. And the ones with just motivation was, I think, like 35 to 38% successful exercise weekly, whereas the one that had intentions set with the planning was 91%. So it was more than double, which is incredible. And I think this really shows that when you make a plan, you're not only relying on motivation, but you're relying on the time and location. This has been proven to work with exercising, quitting, smoking or things like that. And then also because we know that as we're humans, we're going to mess up. And so it's important to have like an if-then situation. So for example, if I didn't read my book for 10 minutes, then I'm going to prioritize reading, getting my book and sitting on the couch tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. And that really sets you up for no longer are you out of control of your environmental cues. You know when it's going to happen, and it's not just relying on discipline, because discipline is a skill that you have to develop, and I feel like it's very hard. And so having those tools to help you improve your discipline is really important. One of the first things to do is to set your intentions, whether it be an internship or start of a school year, honestly, anything. I think it's really important. I also realize I say important way too much, so please forgive me. Also, it's super hot here. I'm in New York at the moment, and I swear it's like 30 something degrees Celsius. I have no idea what that's in Fahrenheit. I'm gonna guess 90 something. It's boiling, and I don't have the air conditioning on because I want to save money. So yeah. Anyways, so ignore my little sweat moments, but yeah. I think intentions are really important, especially at the start of your internship. And obviously you can make intentions throughout your internship. I think that's really important to, reflect on the journey. That's probably number one. Some of my intentions that I set was that I really wanted to learn about the fashion industry and corporate lifestyle. I wanted to know if that was for me, because I feel like sometimes we have this dream of what we want and we see it online and romanticize of working this corporate lifestyle, or the other way, to each their own. But I feel like sometimes you don't really know what the reality is or if it's even an alignment for you. So that was one of my intentions, was to understand what the fashion industry is, how the corporate lifestyle is, and if it fits in with me. And then also I really wanted to stay open and proactive in this. And I think I'll get a little bit into that more later. Same with networking. I think it's really important that I really wanted to build those relationships. And this was from interns to senior members. I wanted to build those relationships across all those kind of hierarchical placements because I thought it was important. You never know who's going to come into your life and be somebody that you can lean on or learn from even. So those were some of my intentions going forward. I'm sure there's other intentions like securing that return offer, things like that. But I want to preface with the securing return offer. I mean, go for it. If your job offers it, I think it's a great level of security, especially for students. It's really helpful to, have that. But I really want you to also go into it and see what else you can get from this internship, because securing the return offer seems kind of like a dead end. You are kind of missing, do you like the company? Do you like what you're doing? Is this something that's going to make you happy? And so I think it's really important to also have additional things other than just securing that return offer. But valid intention. So I guess some things that I just want to leave you with in this step is before your internship starts or whatever, write down 3 to 5 intentions and just keep them visible, check in and see if you're on track. Because if you write them down and you don't keep track of them, then, it's not going to align with actionable steps. So that's what I would say to do. And that's what I learned was really important. Part 2 is the skills that I built and that I think are really important. And honestly, I gained a lot of these through coffee chatting, which I think is a really important thing to do when you're in your internship. Just getting to know other people, getting to know teams that aren't even on your role. If, the corporation is big, if it's small, then totally fair. But try to get to know your team and just the different roles that they do. It shows that you are taking initiative to learn about the company beyond surface level. And also, I think it's a great way to grow and hear about different people's careers. I mean, people are so interesting, and I feel like we sometimes miss it because we're just going along with whatever is in our day and we're so focused on our path, which is so valid. I mean, we have so much going on, but when we take a step to kind of look back and see what other people are doing, I think we can learn a lot from them. And obviously, people project things onto you and you don't always have to take them in if it doesn't resonate with you, but it's still a way to kind of see and learn and grow through a different perspective, which I'm all about. I think perspectives are great. So that was a long-winded thing, but being proactive is really important. And also, I've heard from a lot of interns kind of that you ask them and like, oh, what do you do today? And they're like, oh, nothing much. I've kind of been just like scrolling through my email, which is totally valid. But also, I feel like you're there to learn and you're there for a reason. And I think taking the step to advocate for yourself by asking for what you can do or asking for feedback is really important. I think it shows a level of professionalism in the workforce, and it also shows that you're interested in what the job is. And so I remember when I was kind of in my day one, and honestly, I was not day one, but week 1 or 2, and I was, I had doe-eyed, didn't know what was going on, had no idea what I was doing here. I mean, so much like, why am I here? Somebody else would totally be better for this role. But I went on a coffee chat and she said to go, what's important? I asked her, what is your best advice for people starting out like me? And she said to be proactive and go beyond what is asked for you. And so I really took that lesson in and I used it. I asked my mentor when I had finished one of her tasks, like, oh, can you look over this? Or I finished this. Is there anything else that I can help you with today? And I think that showed a level of, one, that I could complete a task in a pretty good amount of time. And then also that I was ready to learn more. And I think you can always learn more. And honestly, I feel like mentors are happy to give you more work. I mean, you're there to also support them. And so why not ask? The worst thing they can say is no. And I highly doubt that they would say no. So being proactive is definitely important. And then also I think another skill that I built was confidence. So not to go back on coffee chats, but this is also a way to build my confidence. I think some people are a little bit shy to meet with people, especially senior members, because, they're up there and you're learning. And it's hard sometimes to talk to professionals who've had vast amounts of experiences, 10 plus years. They know the industry. They're maybe they've been at the company for a few years and you feel a little shy because you're just starting out. But coffee chats are a way to learn and grow, like I just said. And so I think it's really important. And I think you can build confidence from these coffee chats too. I think coming prepared for coffee chats is really important, kind of asking questions before, definitely looking them up on LinkedIn or through whatever your company has just to get knowledge on them, where they went to school, what experiences they've had, and ask them about that. I saw that you did marketing when you were still in university. How did that go for you? Why did you switch to PR? Anything like that I think is interesting. You can also just learn about what they liked about the roles and what they didn't. And then I think also asking them for advice is really important. And so I did ask a senior member for a coffee chat, and remember, the worst thing they can do is say no. I did also ask my mentor if she was open to coffee chatting, and I think that's kind of important just because your mentor or manager will know the company culture a little bit better than you. And if they have done this in the past, I feel like they'll probably do it again. I guess this is an extra level of security if you're scared of getting rejected. But definitely don't be afraid of coffee chatting with whomever you want. You're there. You have the access to this vast network. Use it. And then another one was technical skills. I definitely improved a lot on my Excel. I was using that practically every day. Pivot table analysis. Oh my gosh, I was about to die. I literally had no Excel experience. So this was great. I got to learn so much from it, and it was good. So I think you can really pick up on these hard skills fast. I would caution against saying that I don't know how to do this, or like I have no experience in Excel, especially if you've put it on your resume, because that really shows. Especially also we're in a digital age where we should kind of not should, but we have the access to tools that can give us a little bit of education about how to use these platforms. And so I guess instead of saying, oh, I don't know how to do this, kind of being curious, more like it, on saying, oh, that's interesting how you did that. I guess can you show me that again? I think just ask as many questions as you can, and that's the more you'll grow. And also practice these things. Once I, asked her, I went and practiced it 10 times so that I would be confident. Also, look it up if you don't want to ask. I mean, we also have the internet for the reason. So, yeah. And then another thing that I really honed in was my detail orientation. I really think it's important to kind of pick up on the language that your company is speaking about, because it helps you kind of communicate. And at my internship, they were very not specific about language, but while I was sitting in on meetings, I could tell kind of which words they used. And I asked afterwards, what does this mean? What does that mean? And then I kind of incorporated it into my language and communication while I was talking to my mentor or doing whatever tasks it was. And this just shows that you're kind of acclimating to the company's culture, and you are showing that you're also interested in learning about these different things that might have never been explained to you if you hadn't learned about it. So I think it's really important to really pick up on those little things and incorporate them. So I think also paying attention to phrasing in emails, meetings, documents, and kind of mirroring that style is important. And then I guess part 3 is what the 9 to 5 taught me. I'm going to take a sip of water because I am hot. I don't think you can tell, but my nose is sweating. I might have to turn on the air conditioner. No, we're going to be strong. I lived in Singapore. It was hot. I can get through this. Anyways, so what my 9 to 5 taught me is part 3. And so I think I'm a person who really likes structure, and working as a sales associate, I still feel that it's a little bit inflexible, as in you don't really know when your schedule is going to be. You don't know if it's an early shift, a late shift, whatever it is. And also normally you have to work on weekends and holidays. And that's really hard because I think that's the kind of time that you want to go and hang out with your friends and have a social life. But, financially, you also need to make money. And so I think that was a little bit hard for me. So with this 9 to 5, it was like the best thing in the world for me, honestly. I love time and structure. I like knowing when I'm going into the office every single day. So yeah, but we did have a hybrid schedule, which was really nice, where Mondays and Fridays were off. We also had flex Fridays because of the summer. And so I think that really does play a part into it as well. And a lot of corporations, I think, nowadays are doing a little bit of that hybrid thing. I personally really love working in an office. I think it really helps my mindset, also my effectiveness. Also, you're just around more people and I feel more stimulated. But I could also go into another episode on why I think being in office is really important, but we can leave that for another day, obviously. So I think what it taught me is that I really do enjoy a 9 to 5, because when you're working those 9 to 5 hours, I feel as if I am so much more effective because I know this is the time that I have to get my work done. There's no other time that you could stay late, but you know what I mean? It's like you have structured time to get these things done. And I have my timetable. I am knowing what I'm going to do this hour, this hour, this hour, this hour, or I will ask to do something in those hours that aren't scheduled. And so, and on the weekends or after work, I could hang out with friends. I could go to a happy hour. I could go to a museum. I could go to a concert, whatever. And all of them did it as well. And it was interesting to hear how they managed their time as well. And so I think I really liked that 9 to 5. But that may not be the case for you. I know people who really disliked the 9 to 5. One of my close friends really didn't like it. I think it was a little bit stifling to her creativity. And that's totally fair. I mean, I think just knowing kind of what works for you is all about what internships are for. I mean, it's not just about the role that you're in. It's about knowing yourself and seeing, do you like it or not? And also reflecting on why you don't like that structured time. Is it too early for you? Are you more of a night person? And just kind of gauging how you feel, because this is your career and you have the power to tailor it how you want it to be and how it fits and aligns with your values and your priorities. And I think we're so lucky in this day and age that we can do that. I mean, I know back then in my parents' days, like they didn't have that option. It was kind of, this is the trajectory that you go on. And so, yeah, just know that you can shape your career how you want it to be. Again, bridge that reality gap too. Because I think if you don't like a 9 to 5 just because you think it's tiring, I would reflect a little bit deeper into why you think it's tiring. Or is it kind of just an excuse? Let's go into part 4. And so I think that was kind of the lessons about the workplace. I think corporate is really, it's not difficult, but there's definitely a culture to it. And I feel really lucky that in the company that I was working for, it had a really, really good culture where the senior members they talked to interns as if they were employees from, 5 years or something, and everybody was willing to coffee chat. Everyone was super friendly. When we were working across teams, people were really kind and nice and inviting and open. Obviously, that wasn't the case on every team, but at least it was in my experience. And so I think it's really important to also learn about your workplace. Do you like the culture? Is it too hierarchical for you? Do you not like that? Or do you like a more collaborative space, or vice versa? Maybe you do like kind of being scared. I find it weird, but I loved scary teachers when I was in high school because I felt that it pushed me to do better. I was so scared of getting a bad grade that I wouldn't let myself get a bad grade. And so, sometimes it works for people having that hierarchical structure. I know in Asia, that's kind of how it's planned and it works great for them. But does it work for you as an individual, I think is also important. And then I think another thing that I learned was being culturally aware is super important. And this is a way of, yes, being culturally aware as in being respectful of diversity and different cultures and how kind of they play into the workforce, being culturally competent as well, which I could go into a whole nother episode about, but I won't right now. But let me know if you want to hear that. But what I mean about being culturally aware is being on top of the news, kind of television, media, and things like that. Because at the end of the day, yes, you are building a professional relationship, but you're also building a relationship in general. And I think it's important to talk about other things. Talk about what are your hobbies? What are your interests? Being interesting, I think, is so important. I mean, it just makes you more personable. It makes you fun to be around. And it also shows that you are not just work. Because in the end of the day, your life is like a pie chart, as my therapist says, and your career is only a slice of it. There are so many other different facets of who you are as a being, and this all filters into each of the pie. And so kind of knowing, I know at my place, we were always watching, like Love Island came out, we watched that and we talked about it at work and, shared our opinions. It also just gets to know, like, what are your values and things like that. And it's fun to talk about. It lightens the mood a little bit from something maybe a little bit heavy. And then also, like the summer turned pretty and just seeing like Belly with Conrad or Jeremiah, whatever, and having different teams and, not bickering, but kind of lightly debating on like why or why not. I think it's just fun. It builds, again, relationships and solidifies that you are somebody outside of work too. So I think that's important. And then I guess another topic is something that I'll lightly touch on, but is the firing culture. And at the end of the day, in corporate and honestly in freelance, whatever, people do get fired. And it was interesting to see how the company deals with it. And I think you should kind of be curious about how the company does it as well, because you never know if it could happen to you or not. And is this the way you would like to be treated? And I think it was really hard for me to sometimes see people getting laid off just because it was really, I guess, kind of disheartening just to see it. But I think I do have a lot of respect on how it was handled in some ways. And I think it's just important to kind of notice and maybe, ask questions, but in a timely manner, maybe don't ask right away when it's happening or, vice, whatever. But kind of be opening to learning about how and why it happens and how kind of maybe they do or do not set them up after being fired, because I think that tells a lot about the company as well. At the end of the day, you are going to be working for this company, maybe or maybe not, depending on, return offers or whatever. And do you like the place that you're working at? Because that's really important. If you don't love it, I guarantee you're probably not going to like going to work, and then you're not gonna want to put in your best effort. And that's not helpful to you, and that's not helpful for the company who's investing in you as well. Because just as much as you're investing into the company, so is the company investing in you. So I think that's really important. And then I think we're gonna do a part 2 on this whole thing, because it's already 30 minutes and I feel like everybody's attention span is running low. Thanks so much for sticking with me on episode 3 for my internship reflection, and I can't wait to see you for episode 4. We'll be continuing the conversation. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Also, please comment any questions or anything that you want to kind of hear more about or something that you're interested in. I love doing deep dives on Google Scholar and looking at journal articles and things like that, and seeing, what the professionals are saying and how we can use these tools to excel our career. And that's what we're here for at Her Career, Her Way. So tune in for the next episode, episode 4. And thanks you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate all the support.